I want you to picture a very specific, slightly uncomfortable scenario. Imagine you're watching a tech demo for a highly advanced humanoid robot,
Oh, yeah.
right? So it's got this perfect artificial skin, flawless joint movement. I mean, the proportions are mathematically perfect. But then it smiles at you and the eyes are just, they're dead.
Yeah, it's that visceral reaction of the uncanny valley.
Exactly.
The robot is almost human, but it's off by just, a fraction of a percent. And that tiny discrepancy triggers a deeply unsettling feeling in your brain. Like, something isn't right, even if you can't quite put your finger on it.
Right. And so take that exact same creeping sensation and apply it to language learning.
Mm-hmm.
There is this phenomenon where someone studies a second language for a decade, right?
Oh.
They memorize the grammar tables, their vocabulary is vast, they pass every proficiency exam with flying colors.
Yeah, they've got the certificate on the wall.
Totally. But then they walk into a pub in London or a boardroom in New York, they open their mouths, and the room just goes a little bit quiet. The connection just isn't there.
And that is the linguistic uncanny valley.
Yeah.
These speakers are grammatically perfect, but socially robotic. Like, the syntax is flawless, but the vibe is completely wrong. They were basically missing the invisible social fabric that holds the language together.
Which brings us to today's topic. Welcome to this deep dive. Today's mission is exploring how to bridge that incredibly frustrating gap between being highly proficient, what linguists might call, a B2 or C1 level, where you're fluent but maybe a bit clinical, and reaching true C2 sophistication.
True mastery.
Exactly. Total native level mastery. We're talking about shattering the advanced plateau.
It's that stage where you feel like a visitor who knows all the house rules.
Right.
Like knowing not to wear shoes on the carpet.
Right, but you don't feel like a resident who can actually put their feet up on the coffee table.
Yeah, moving from a visitor to a resident requires a complete paradigm shift. And the mission today is mapping out how to stop treating language as a rigid mathematical code of right and wrong and start navigating it as a complex, nuanced social map.
So, to escape this uncanny valley, we first have to completely change our relationship with the skeleton of the language, which is grammar.
Yeah, the structure.
Right. At intermediate levels, grammar is essentially a compliance issue. It's armor against getting red pen marks on a test. You learn the rules just to avoid being wrong.
But at the highest levels of fluency, grammar transforms into style. It becomes an instrument of power, pacing, and diplomacy. Taking that shift from armor to artistry, look at something as mundane as the participle clause.
Okay.
A competent intermediate speaker wants to explain why a CEO called a meeting. They would construct a very sturdy, logical sentence and say, because he was feeling frustrated by the lack of progress, the CEO called a meeting.
Which gets you a gold star on your proficiency exam. I mean, it's perfectly correct.
It is technically correct, but listen to the rhythm. It drags.
Yeah.
It's heavy at the front. It feels like you are explaining a story step by step. A truly sophisticated speaker takes a machete to that sentence. Yeah, they chop off the conjunction because and the subject he, and they just lead with the raw feeling. Frustrated by the lack of progress, the CEO called a meeting.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that second version immediately implies authority. It respects the listener's intelligence by not spelling out every single mechanical link in the sentence.
Precisely. And then consider the passive hing form, which is basically the grammatical equivalent of diplomatic immunity.
Diplomatic immunity, I like that.
Imagine a project fails. A standard speaker might say, the issue is that you didn't allocate the funds correctly.
Yikes. Instantly, you've pointed a finger.
Exactly.
The person on the other side of the table is defensive, their heart rate spikes, and you've basically started a fight instead of actually solving the problem.
Right. Now look at the sophisticated alternative. The issue lies in the funds not having been allocated correctly.
Wow, so you just completely erase them.
Grammatically, you have completely erased the doer of the action. You are focusing entirely on the event, not the culprit.
That's smart.
It's a highly strategic way to deliver a sharp critique without making a single enemy or triggering a defensive shutdown.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit, because it feels like beginner grammar is learning how to drive with the guardrails up, but C2 grammar is taking the car off-road. It's like a linguistic firm handshake.
That's a great way to put it.
You also see this with tools like inversion, where you flip the subject and verb for dramatic flair. Instead of the standard flat delivery of an opportunity rarely arises, you say, Rarely does an opportunity arise.
It gives the sentence real weight and momentum.
Yeah. Or consider hedging, using double hedges like this could potentially lead to, rather than the rookie mistake of bluntly promising this will work.
Yeah, the double head sounds so much more scientifically credible and measured.
But here's the thing I always wonder about this. Do native speakers consciously know they're doing this? Like, are they walking into a room and thinking, I need to manipulate the emotional state of this meeting, so I will deploy a passive in Ching form?
That raises a really important question about the nature of fluency. And the short answer is no.
No.
No, most native speakers aren't consciously thinking about participle clauses or grammatical structures. They just instinctively know the social map.
Right.
They know that a direct accusation causes friction, so their brain automatically reaches for the grammatical structure that smooths things over. That instinct for the social outcome, rather than just reciting a rule, is what the advanced learner is trying to emulate.
Right, but framing a sentence correctly is only half the battle if you're still plugging in basic, low-resolution words.
Yeah, the vocabulary.
You have to upgrade the actual bricks you're building with, moving from a blurry photograph to 4K Ultra HD.
English is a language that deeply prefers to bake the how right into the verb. It actively resists the verb plus adverb formula.
Give me an example.
Well, saying someone walked slowly is incredibly low resolution. It doesn't tell us anything about the person's state of mind. Instead, you choose a verb that contains the psychological and physical state of the walker.
The physics of movement, let's break this down. If we're looking at slow movement, you have trudging, which implies a heavy, wet, exhausting struggle. You're trudging through snow or trudging home after a terrible day.
Exactly. But then you have ambling or moseying, which is the exact same speed on a radar gun, but it's pure, leisurely, aimless relaxation.
Right. And then you have dawdling, which is purposeful procrastination, like a kid dawdling on the way to school because they haven't done their homework.
Yeah, 3 walks, identical in speed, but representing 3 entirely different psychological realities. And it applies to fast movement, too.
Okay, what about fast movement?
Think of the word scurrying. It paints an immediate image of small, nervous, rapid steps. Head down, trying to be invisible, like a mouse running across a kitchen floor.
Oh, yeah.
Contrast that with hurtling, which is heady, dangerous momentum. A car hurtling around a corner implies gravity's taken over, and a crash is imminent.
My absolute favorite contrast is with walks of confidence. You have striding, which is the authoritative, purposeful walk of a leader taking charge of a situation.
And then you have sashaying.
Yes. Sashaying is performative. It's hips swaying, demanding an audience, pure theatrical flair. If you talk about an accountant sashaying into a sterile corporate networking event, that single word creates instant comedic irony without you having to explain the joke.
It really does. And beyond movement, you have to upgrade visceral states. Instead of relying on the clinical word exhausted, a speaker might say they are knackered.
Which has such a grim, heavy history. It derives from the knacker's yard, the place where old, dead horses were sent to be rendered down into glue or fertilizer.
Yeah, pretty dark.
It really carries the centuries-old weight of being completely physically spent. But wait, here's where it gets really interesting. If I'm in a 9 a.m. pitch meeting, using a word like knackered or describing a colleague as sashaying seems like a fast track to getting a talking to from management.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Shouldn't we stick to neutral words? Where's the line between being high resolution and just being unprofessional?
Well, that protective instinct is exactly what keeps learners trapped in the uncanny valley. You're absolutely right that at 9 a.m. in a formal presentation, you maintain professional neutrality.
Okay.
But at 9 p.m., when the ties are loosened, the laptops are closed, and you are networking over drinks, that same neutrality creates a brick wall between you and the other person. Using a visceral word like knackered is a calculated signal of vulnerability. It invites the native speaker to commiserate with you. You are dropping the professional shield to build genuine rapport, proving you aren't an automated translation bot, but a human being who feels the physical weight of a long day.
Dropping the shield to build the connection. That makes perfect sense. But wielding that high-resolution vocabulary comes with extreme risks, which brings us to the danger zone.
Oh, the danger zone is real.
There are words that look completely harmless, but act like wolves in sheep's clothing. A single wrong choice doesn't just make you sound a bit clunky. It can derail a relationship or trigger an HR visit.
The danger lies in autopilot. You see a simple word, your brain assumes it knows the definition, and you stop paying attention.
Give us some of these wolves in sheep's clothing.
Take the word clocking. You know a clock tells time, but as a verb, to clock someone means to spot them with sudden, sharp recognition.
Right.
Or milking. You drink milk, but milking a situation means extracting every last drop of value from it, usually dishonestly or unfairly.
Oh, and losing your bottle, which stems from Cockney rhyming slang. Bottle and glass means class or courage, so losing your bottle means completely losing your nerve at the last second.
Or being toast, which has nothing to do with breakfast and everything to do with being completely finished or destroyed in a competitive situation.
But those are just confusing. The transatlantic traps are where the real international incidents happen.
Oh, yeah.
It's like two electricians wiring a house using the exact same colored cables, but one person thinks the red wire is the ground, and the other person thinks the red wire is carrying live electricity.
That is the perfect way to describe the illusion of a shared language between the United States and the United Kingdom. They use the exact same words to mean diametrically opposed things. Look at the verb to table.
Oh, this one is huge. So imagine a high-stakes, multi-million-dollar merger negotiation. A British executive leans forward and says, "This is critical. Let's table this motion."
Yeah, and in the UK, to table something means to put it on the table right now for immediate, urgent discussion.
Right. It comes from the literal act of laying a document on the table in Parliament to be debated.
But an American executive hears that and thinks the exact opposite. In the US, to table something evolved to mean putting it away in a desk drawer.
Wow.
Yeah, it means to take it off the agenda and postpone it indefinitely. So the Brit thinks it's priority number one, and the American thinks it's been delayed until next year. The miscommunication is total.
That is a multi-million-dollar mistake right there. And then there are the HR nightmares. Like if you're in a crowded office in the UK and you tell a colleague that you really like their pants, you have just complimented their underwear.
Yeah, you really don't want to do that.
No. In the US, pants are just slacks or jeans. In the UK, trousers are outerwear and pants are strictly undergarments.
Just as a British person asking to borrow a rubber in a US boardroom is going to stop the meeting dead.
Oh my goodness, yes.
In the UK, a rubber is simply an eraser for a pencil. In the US, it is the most ubiquitous street slang for a condom.
Not a request you want to make during a quarterly review. And do not even think about referring to a waist bag as a fanny pack in the UK.
Oh, no.
In America, it's a cute, innocent, slightly dorky accessory. In the UK, that word is a highly vulgar anatomical obscenity. You have to call it a bum bag over there.
And then you have the T-trap, which isn't vulgar, but it's a massive cultural minefield.
The T-trap. Explain this one.
Well, T is a linguistic shapeshifter heavily tied to class and geography. In the south of England, or among the middle classes, an invitation for tea at 5 p.m. means a cup of Old Grey, and maybe a small biscuit.
Sounds lovely.
But in the north, or in working class contexts, tea is the main evening meal. There are legendary stories of foreign students who ate a massive lunch to prepare for a light 5 p.m. tea, only to be served a gigantic roast chicken dinner that they had to force down just to be polite.
Okay, so what does this all mean? It's like assuming you're playing checkers because the board looks the same, but the other person is playing chess, and suddenly your king is in danger because you asked for an eraser. How on earth can you safely navigate these ambiguous traps without constantly looking foolish?
You have to swallow your pride and master the art of playful clarification.
Playful clarification.
Yeah. If you are invited for tea, you might ask, "Do you mean a cuppa and a biscuit, or should I bring my appetite for a real meal?" By acknowledging the cultural ambiguity, you show that you understand the trap exists.
Right.
It actually earns you respect for being culturally aware, and it saves you from eating a roast chicken on a full stomach.
Avoiding disaster is great, but true social mastery is about building warmth. The true test of a C2 speaker is how they handle the smallest, most mundane social interactions without sounding like a perfectly programmed GPS.
And this all boils down to the "how are you" protocol. It's the ultimate everyday vibe check.
Yeah, because if someone asks, "How are you?" and you reply with a textbook, "I am fine, thank you," you have technically answered the question, but socially, you've provided a dial tone.
It's a verbal stiff arm.
Exactly, signaling that you have completed the required social ritual and have zero interest in engaging further.
To actually signal your humanity, you have to use nuanced alternatives. You see the stoic power of phrases like "mustn't grumble" or "can't complain."
I love those.
It's a brilliant cultural bonding mechanism, especially in the UK. It acknowledges the underlying reality that life is hard and exhausting, but it asserts that complaining about it is pointless.
Right, it levels the playing field, bringing you and the listener together without forcing the other person into a position where they have to comfort you.
Taking that a step further, if you are really struggling, you don't declare, "I feel terrible." You say, "I'm hanging in there."
Hanging in there.
Yeah, it shows a resilient kind of vulnerability. It leaves the door open for them to ask about your rough week without demanding their emotional labor.
Well.
But you also have to watch out for phrases like "not too clever."
Oh, what does that mean?
Well, if a British colleague says, "I'm not too clever today," They aren't confessing to a sudden drop in IQ. It's a specific idiom, meaning they feel physically sick.
Yeah.
If you reply by saying, "Oh, don't worry, you're very smart," the conversation derails instantly.
Oh, that would be so awkward. Then there is the complex issue of identity and modesty. There's something called the expert trap. If you walk into a room and boldly state, "I am an expert in marketing," it triggers tall poppy syndrome.
Which is huge in places like the UK and Australia.
Right, where the poppy that grows the tallest gets its head cut off by the farmer. People instinctively want to cut you down if you elevate yourself above the group. So instead, you're supposed to use softeners. "I'm a bit of a marketing nerd," or "I have a soft spot for marketing data."
Exactly.
But I have to ask, if someone has worked 80-hour weeks for a decade to genuinely become an expert in their field, why must they pretend it's just a cute hobby? Isn't "I'm a bit of an expert" just a lie society forces us to tell?
I get why it feels that way, but it helps to not think of it as a lie. Think of it as a translation of your status into approachability.
Okay, how so?
Stating, "I am an expert," is an assertion of dominance. It immediately puts the listener in a subordinate position, which creates friction. But saying, "I'm a bit of a nerd," frames your 10 years of grueling hard work as a passion or a personal quirk.
I see.
It transforms your vast knowledge into an invitation for conversation rather than a fortified wall. It actually proves you are so secure in your expertise that you don't need to shout about it to validate yourself.
Okay, that reframing makes a lot of sense. You're managing their reaction to your expertise. And you see that same physical framing applied to business idioms to smooth over friction.
Absolutely.
Instead of bluntly saying you're confusing everyone, you say someone is muddying the waters, evoking the image of kicking up silt in a clear stream.
Yeah, or if an excuse is illogical, it doesn't hold water, like
What?
a leaky bucket.
Right. If a plan is just a skeleton, you need to flush it out. Or if a team is slightly unbalanced, they are out of kilter.
All of these idioms rely on physical, visceral imagery to describe abstract business problems. By focusing on the leaky bucket or the muddy water, it makes the critique feel constructive and objective, rather than like a personal attack on someone's intelligence.
Okay, we are in the home stretch. You know the grammarized style, you have the 4K vocabulary, you've successfully navigated the HR landmines, and your vibe is perfectly, approachably modest. But none of that matters. Literally none of it if you literally cannot understand the sounds coming out of a native speaker's mouth.
And this brings us to the mechanics of chaos. Listening and elision.
Elision.
Yeah. Textbooks train your ear to listen for crisp, distinct words with space between them. Native speakers do not speak in distinct words.
No, they definitely do not.
They use elision, which is the mechanics of phonetic efficiency. They constantly blur words together, happily sacrificing clarity for the sake of speed.
The examples of this are just wild. Stony silence becomes one long, continuous, merged word. Stony silence.
Yep.
But the terrifying one is the idiom trod on a few toes, meaning, to offend some people, TRODONA. 3 distinct, simple words. But when a native speaker fires it off in the middle of a fast-paced meeting, the consonants bleed into the vowels. It morphs into trodana.
Trodana. It literally sounds like a type of regional Italian pasta.
It really does. And the learner freezes. They panic, frantically searching their mental dictionary for this mysterious noun trodana, and by the time their brain finally untangles the sounds and realizes it was 3 simple words, the conversation has completely moved on and left them behind.
And the final exam of this auditory chaos is the homograph trap. Words that are spelled exactly the same, but pronounced entirely differently based on the context of the sentence.
Oh, this is the ultimate test. Imagine reading this sentence. The couple had a blazing row, rhymes with cow, meaning a loud argument about which row rhymes with go, meaning a line of seats of the cinema to sit in.
Right, to read or hear that sentence naturally, your brain have to anticipate the meaning of the word before your mouth even forms the sound or before your ear finishes processing it. You cannot decode real-world speech syllable by syllable. You have to understand the broader flow of the thought.
Which brings us right back to the cure for the uncanny valley hook. This is it. The reason the humanoid robot sounds creepy is because it enunciates perfectly. It's trying too hard to be correct.
Exactly.
To sound truly human, you actually have to embrace the messiness. You have to blur the edges, let the words bleed together into pasta shapes, and stop aiming for textbook perfection.
Fluency is not a measure of how well you can mimic a dictionary or a grammar table. Fluency is your ability to use the language as a dynamic tool for human connection, fully embracing all of its inherent flaws, shortcuts, and contradictions.
So let's bring this deep dive to a close. Reaching the absolute peak of language fluency, moving from that proficient plateau to true sophistication, isn't about memorizing the dictionary.
No.
It's about treating the language as a living social map. It's about using the architecture of grammar to project authority and diplomacy. It's about using verbs to paint high-resolution pictures and idioms to reduce social friction.
It's about signaling your personality and having the bottle to navigate the absolute messiness of human interaction without retreating into the robotic safety of, I am fine, thank you.
And of course, knowing when to ask what exactly is on the menu for tea.
An essential survival skill.
Truly. But we want to leave you with a final, unmentioned concept to mull over as you go about your day.
Ooh, what is it?
Well, we've spent all this time analyzing how mastering a second language requires learning a specific culture's anxieties, like the British obsession with understatement and avoiding imposition, or the American drive for relentless positivity and action.
Yeah.
But flip that mirror around. What do the automatic, basic phrases in your own native language secretly reveal about your culture's unspoken fears, history, and values? Next time you speak in your mother tongue, listen closely to the words you aren't actually saying.
That is a profound exercise in self-awareness.
Think about it. And remember, the goal isn't a flawless tech demo. The goal is the life behind the eyes. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you on the next Deep Dive.